Hi guys, Sages here, and welcome to another thing on Fire Emblem Heroes, because why not? I figured this time we would take a look at the newest summon, which is right here, this focus on the battle with Zephiel. And honestly, I have to say, of all of the characters here, these are all fantastic in their own right. I mean, Frederick a little bit much, but everyone else pretty great in their own right. I safely say this is actually a better summon banner than this. Granted, not, no new characters, and I still want Elm, but, that'll get people upset because I want Elm, but still, I only want him because I'm a collector and I want to get all the 5 stars, guys, but no, not really. I like his design and everything, but still, anyways, back to this. I actually happen to have all of these characters on my team roster here, and I'm going to take you through them and give you a better idea of what they're all about, okay? So, first off and foremost, not only are these characters really good at, being units in their own right, they're pretty powerful, but they also have some really good abilities if you decide to, bring them along and maybe inherit some of their skills. I know that probably sounds wrong, but, we'll start off with the first one. This is my Hana right here. Granted, she's missing her command skill right now and also a C skill. The build is not complete. I really need to grind up a bunch more SP for her, but I'm getting there, I'm working on it. I'm trying to give her some nice abilities. First off and foremost, I replaced her original weapon, which is an Armor Slayer. Armor Slayer in the general, sense is it's okay. Mostly I can see why they're trying to give you this ability and this unit for Zephiel. Mostly because, well, she's meant to be this this really powerful armor killer, and all the other fight that we were just in, especially with Zephiel, was Armor Slayer and armored units, so, killing him is not too crazy. Honestly, if you really wanted to, you could give her a Wu Dao, which is really good, and I really like that, or you could give her a Brave weapon, or a Killer weapon. I personally would probably go more with Killer at this, because you could stack a lot of things, but, Wu Dao is the one I went with because I got Karl pretty quick, and honestly, she uses his weapon a lot better than he can, at least I think, because one thing you need to know about Hana is that her attacks, and oh my god, Skype, really, her attack is insanely high for many reasons. Also, if you can get her with the good speed IV, mine is actually an attack IV. As you've noticed, she's level 33 and already has 50 attack. That might go up a bit more in the last few levels that we're going to get here, but still, speed is also a good stat for her. She actually has some decent enough speed, so if you decide to go with that, that's also a good option. But in general, there are a few things that she actually has that are really nice. So first off and foremost, I also gave her Dragon Gaze and Dragonic Aura. These are good abilities because, at least for mine, she triggers them pretty often. Also, with Wu Dao, she gets an additional 10 damage. That's just my build here. Life and Death 1, 2, and 3, she has these innately, which is fantastic in her own right. She's a great character for being able to go in there and blitz down a unit as a red unit. She's fast and she's deadly. She can do a lot of damage. So if you decide to bring her along, or if you decide, you get a 5-star Hana and you're not sure what to do, Life and Death is always a fantastic ability for a lot of characters, so it's not a bad idea to, bring that along and do something along those lines. And simply put, Obstruct I would probably just not bother with. Desperation I would give her, because she definitely has the speed to really, grow on that, in a sense. She can do her attacks. If she gets hurt, she can then, automatically follow up without getting hit again. So, Desperation is something I would go with. As for C, it's really up to you. I'm thinking about giving her, something along the lines of Hone Defense, or possibly Fortify, or a Spur, because I already have things that kind of have certain buffs. I need to actually equip my Minerva. For some reason, she had all of her abilities equipped. I don't remember why I was doing that. Probably trying to check out her IVs and figuring out what I was going to be doing with the other Minerva I had. That was a bad idea last night. Still, nonetheless, we're moving on to Naui. And Naui is probably one of the more interesting dragon units out there. She is actually one of the more powerful ones, I think, personally, because of her lightning breath, and because, in general, she is just a fantastic unit. And mostly, she has great attack, she has some decent defenses as well, and she will probably carry you through a lot of the game if you decide to give her long. Mostly, her lightning breath, it allows her to counter from afar, meaning that, mage units will be attacked by her. She is, be aware though that her attacks are, kind of countered by resistances, so while she'll be more adept at probably killing certain archers over mages, but still, nonetheless. From here, we also have, her normal abilities. Rally defense is okay. She's a decent enough unit as is, but if you really wanted to build her and take her to the next level, here are a few ideas. As a dragon, she does come at a disadvantage. Granted, not as much as a lot of other ones. The only real weakness that I can see her having would probably be from Julia, because Julia has Naga, and Naga, of course, means that she has more damage against dragons. So, if you really wanted to offset that with something, with anything, you'd probably, Dragon Killer's always a possibility that she has to deal with. Falchion users can still technically be a bit of a troublesome matter to her. Triangle Adept is a good idea if you want to do something like that. Perhaps compound that with something like Swordbreaker or, Lancebreaker, in case you want to, deal with units who might be a bit more tanky than her, or, might cause her some more damage due to Falchion. Typically, if you attach Triangle Adept to it, that means that she will be padded a bit from the whole, taking additional dragon, damage from being a dragon. C-Slot, her threat and resistance is not a bad concept, actually, because, again, her damage is basically magical in how it works, and it will do a lot of damage if, the resistances are done. And she has a bit of a tanky atmosphere to her in her own right. It especially helps, as you can see, with the whole current Grand Battle hero. She can do a lot of damage to those the armored units in there, so it's definitely something you might try to bring along. Triangle Adept just gives her a bit more, ability to tank Falchion users, and not only that, but destroy them. Swordbreaker does help with that as well. But again, she does have a few disadvantages, nothing too crazy, and the only one that I can really think of when it comes down to it would probably be Naga, that can outright destroy her, but Julia's are kind of rarer now these days, at least, more than most, I think. That's just me, though. So next up, we have Rainhard. I'm currently trying to level him up for a horse unit that I'm working on, a whole horse team. And I'll be pretty honest, as a unit himself, he is quite powerful. He actually has a fairly strong attack, at least when it comes to cavalry. Cavalry units are, of course, always going to have a bit of a disadvantage when it comes down to mages, mostly because when it comes to units that have more movement speed, they tend to have a bit more a bit less BST, meaning that their stat gains are not exactly the strongest, but they're still really good. Dire Thunder is probably a really, really good spell tome for him to have. It allows him to double up his attacks when he has, and his speed is not the greatest, so adding in something like Dire Thunder will definitely help him out in the long run. It allows him to attack twice, and he'll attack hard, and it's not exactly a bad idea to do that. He also comes natively with Vantage, and, granted, I would probably remove Blazing Thunder and Rising Thunder with something else. I wouldn't say... I don't know if I would go with Draconic Aura, but, it's something that you could possibly throw in and will do more than, Moonbow or anything like that, in case you happen to have a spare Camilla or who else, whatever else that you can get for Draconic Aura. But still, not to say that Blazing Thunder and these abilities aren't, it's always nice to have an AoE ability around. Still, nonetheless, Vantage 3, it's always nice to have something like this on a character innately. It means that he has the advantage of, if he gets attacked, granted he probably, I don't remember if he has enough defense, I think he does actually, and his defense is okay, I guess. Just looking at this real quick, I was just lucky enough to have my spreadsheet open here. His defense is okay, but, like, if he's getting hit at least this way he will be able to counter, and if he survives, that means that if he gets attacked again, he will actually attack first. Granted, you definitely want him to attack first if you're using Dire Thunder. You can, of course, change him over if you really want to have a Blade Tome and make a horse unit out of it. That's all of the rage these days. But really, he's fine enough with Dire Thunder. With A, I would probably go with something like Death Blow. I don't really think Life and Death would be too crazy for him in exchange. Death Blow would probably do better. It allows him to do a lot more damage and not have to sacrifice anything in exchange for that. If you really want, you could go Life or Death, I guess, but I still think Death Blow is probably his best. A slot there. C slot, Super Attack is not a bad idea. He does have gold cavalry, and that is always a nice one to have from the get-go. It's definitely something that you'll be noticing, especially if you decide to build a horse unit, you know, a horse emblem team. You can definitely go with him. He is probably one of the best blue horse mages out there, considering he has to deal with, I'm fairly sure he has competition from Ursula and Olwen. Anyways, and last but not least, we also have Frederick. Frederick, honestly, is probably the most surprising for me. People always think about him as, like, when I look at him, he's an odd unit. First off and foremost, he has Hammer, which, you know, but he actually is a lot like Shershi in a sense, only in horse form. When people like look at Shershi and they go, oh, hey, you know, she's actually a really good unit. It's just that she starts off with some terrible weapons and nothing that could really be useful. Well, not nothing that can really be useful, but like she has the stats to back it up. She can really get in there if you give her a decent weapon that isn't, you know, a hammer or something. Not to say that hammer is bad. God dang. I really hate that my recording software continues to do this. I'm gonna have to replace this cord again. But, you know, you could do much better. If you could give him a killer or brave weapon, he will probably do a lot more damage. Not only that, if you get him in an attack stance, because I'm fairly sure his attack is actually pretty decent. I mean, this is at level 1 on 4 stars, and his attack is 18. That's decent enough, granted, and that is with a hammer that is actually with 8 in might. That's fairly decent as a horse unit, actually. His Luna is a fairly decent ability its own right. Again, if you get something with like Killer or, you know, I mean, Killer would probably be great. Brave would be fantastic. This allows him to trigger that pretty often. If you really wanted to, you could give him Death Blow, because, you know, I wouldn't exchange any of his tankiness, which he has a bit of it. Outside of that, I mean, it's not too crazy tankiness, but he does have a bit. I don't know why it would. Sorry, I'm kind of scatterbrained here, but, you know, tankiness over it a bit. I would go with Death Blow in his A slot. His B slot, it's really up to you. Vantage is not a bad idea, mostly because he's a bit, you know, tanky. Wings of Mercy is also a good concept for him. Nothing too terrible there. And, you know, you can give him a Fortify or a Hone in his own right. He's probably, if I were to say anything, the quote-unquote weakest of them all. But, give or take, honestly, this is probably one of the best focus banners in a long time when it comes down to units. Not to say that Alm and Claire and them are all bad or anything. They're just weaker in their own regards. These are units that you will probably use quite a bit more than any of those in the other banner, which is a shame, but, you know, Hana, Rainhard, Naui, and Frederick are all fantastic units. I really suggest, if you have the time, do this summon banner. It is worth your time. Trust me on this one, okay? Not only that, but, like, if you know, if you get some units that you don't like, oh my goodness, this recording software, seriously. If you get some units that you really, truly enjoy, you know, and you don't necessarily want to keep Hana, or you don't want to keep, you know, Frederick or Rainhard, I guess, you always have the option to inherit their skills. Life and Death 3 from Hana is fantastic. It's a great ability, great concept, I was about to say. Great ability to have, and definitely something you're going to want to do. Here's my Hana again, just so you can get a better idea. And that's about it. That's all I got to say, guys. Go and summon some of these characters. Seriously, they are great. Take the advantage. Do it now. Anyways, I'll catch you guys later. See you soon.